Welcome to another edition of Bigfoot and the Bunny for the Paranormal UK Radio Network. My name's Chris Carr, and I just wanted to put a little quick introduction on here before we get into our interview. I wanted to let you know we have a wonderful interview for you guys this week. It is a lot of fun. It was with Dr. Kimberly McGeorge, who has the website secrettoeverything.com. We talked about a variety of subjects, ranging from psychic abilities and auras to Sasquatch, to fairies, to reptilians, to what the heck is in my hamburger. No kidding. I think you'll enjoy this. But to make things special for you guys, I did want to include at least one little clip of data that we had captured. And this goes back to our first trip to the legendary, at least in our area, Spider Gates. And if you Google Spider Gates, you'll probably find this location in your Google. It is actually Friends Cemetery in Leicester, Massachusetts. And this is the first time we would start hearing the name Frank. And this would eventually develop into something else entirely that we dubbed the Evil AM Band. And we did a Dark Horse Paranormal podcast on that. So if you look up Dark Horse Paranormal in your podcast outlet, you'll probably find that. It's called Evil AM Band, and was a little bit creepy, for sure. But before it kind of became an obsession of ours and things got really spooky around the household, this was the first time we actually heard the name Frank. So we do think it's related. It wasn't on the AM band, but you will clearly hear Frank twice in this little short clip.
Who died here?
It's another question. Frank.
So as we went along, we found that we were getting this name Frank often, and it was directly tied to something we called the Evil AM Band, as mentioned, and that would be us playing the AM Band and hearing this repeated cryptic message that basically said, "It speaks," sometimes saying, "Can't escape." And it would repeat these messages over and over and started adding other things that it would tell us, including the name Frank Houghton. And, for the life of us, we could never find history on this particular gentleman, or not really sure who he is or if he even really existed. But we got pretty obsessed with it. And at one point, we got these responses here that I'm going to play for you. And this is hybrid. It starts talking about it speaks hybrid. And this really got us thinking, and we were anyways at the time, but this really got us going on the idea that we were talking to something that was not like a human discarnate, not basically, somebody's great grandmother. This was something different entirely, kind of behind Frank saying it speaks and hybrid, was sounded so strange that we wondered whether it was something that was ancient, perhaps interdimensional, or even just alien. We weren't sure, and we still aren't, but it's a very interesting clip, and here is that.
You guys are the chaotic energy that's going on to let us help you speak. How do we fix it?
And now on to our interview. Welcome to Bigfoot
and the Bunny.
This is a couple's journey into the mysterious,
the unknown, and the paranormal.
I'm your host, Chris Carr.
And I'm your host, Kristen Johnson.
Together we are Bigfoot and the Bunny. And we're live. Welcome to Bigfoot and the Bunny. I'm Chris Carr.
And I'm Kristen Johnson.
And we have a good show for you guys planned today. It looks like our guest might be running a little late, though. However, she is Kimberly McGeorge, or Dr. Kimberly McGeorge.
Mm-hmm.
And we hope she'll be joining us because she's got a wealth of very interesting stuff to discuss with us.
She does. She's really great.
So, yeah, she really has a very interesting bio, and we seem to be into some of the same things. So I think that this will be really cool. She talks a lot about frequencies, and that's something Kristen and I talk about
all the time.
All the time. And it's coming up more and more with the June 25th disclosures that are supposed to be coming out per our government here in the United States of America about these UAPs. UFOs, or whatever you want to call them, or
UATs,
even UATs, which is an unidentified aerial threat. Not sure who's been saying that.
Tom DeLonge from
he's actually calling UATs now.
His what is it? Academy? No, it's To the Stars Academy of Arts and Entertainment. Yep. Yes. And he's been saying that he's with Louis Elizondo. He's been the mouthpiece actually on all the outlets.
In the media, yeah.
So they've been calling them UATs because they're threatening our airspace, but it's not just ours, it's around the globe.
It certainly is. It's not limited to the United States. I think the whole world is looking at this.
Right. So if you look at all the videos that they're sharing, it's mostly of Navy and Air Force pilots who capture them, but it's the way they say threat is because it's threatening that, their airspace. So,
all right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, here's the thing, I'm starting to wonder if we're not just sharing the same space with these creatures, if their beings are more along the interdimensional, type of being where they're always here. That's what I'm starting to think, and not really coming from Nibiru per se.
Nibiru, whatever.
Yeah.
However you say it.
However section. That they're actually here, and they're just breaking through to our consciousness realm. We were talking a lot last night about consciousness and with this idea of ghosts and aliens, being one and the same potentially is just an interesting topic. And I know we agree, but we don't totally agree on it. And
he's flip-flopping of something that we had discussed previously about.
And no, flip-flop is the right word. But.
Well, you didn't believe it at first because you didn't want to believe it, but then you started to believe it. And I was like, and now I'm on the fence. I'm like, well, no, now I'm thinking this. And
well, I think we got to explain what we're talking about.
We will, I know.
What that is and what I believe or we believe or don't believe is more or less this idea of roles. And we brought this up on our friend Ken Allen's podcast, which was pretty darn good. The Wizard's Table. And I'm just bringing something up here. Oh, I see Nathaniel Gillis is out there, and Marie Young. Hey, guys.
Hi.
The idea of roles and spirits taking on roles, right? So there's all these like stereotypes out there where you see the haunted, location with the little girl, and people see the little girl or little boy. It's kind of a stereotype. The women in white, some of the demonic activities, spirits that identify themselves as demons that, you just don't feel like this is really, Belial or Beelzebub or whatever,
right?
That you're talking to. And then that has happened to us, that they've communicated those words through, spirit boxes or EVPs or different things. And, you have to look at that, right? So I always looked at it like spirits were stepping into the role of something to portray it. But I'm starting to wonder if they're spirits at all, if they're just foreign consciousnesses. And I think that's a good word, foreign consciousness.
At least you said it this time. You got it out.
Yeah, I get it out. Consciousness is and that are trying to break through to ours, and this concept we brought up a few weeks ago about, in particular, an EVP we captured at Precious Blood Cemetery in Woonsocket, Rhode Island, where there would seem to be nature sounds, things that sounded almost like pareidolia.
Apophenia.
We're creating words.
Yeah.
And sentences, and they were right there. And I was like, well, I would say this was pareidolia or apophenia, except it really does kind of say this thing, or there'd be a human voice mixed in with it, and we can't identify the human voice.
Yeah.
So we start to think about that, and it occurs to us that they're using sounds to create the words that are already in our existence, in our consciousness. They're using noise. And I think that the reason why, 98% or whatever it is, EVPs that people capture sound whispery is because they're using your breath. They're using the wind. They're using the sounds around you to create that,
I remember, not to interrupt you, but a long time ago, we first started our journey, our adventure into spider gates. I remember that we were pushing a bottle into the backpack, an empty water bottle into the backpack. And that actually had something really creepy inside of it, of the sound as the bottle was crushing. And I'll never forget where we were when we heard this. It's one of those moments. And it was like, oh my God, it was a bottle, just a water bottle crushing. And it was really bad.
And it was a sentence in there. Yeah. Yep, there was. And we've talked about sounds within sounds with Mike Markowitz before on Bigfoot and the Bunny, who had a really good EVP of somebody sweeping, upstairs. He's in the basement of a tavern, I believe. And somebody's sweeping, and you can hear, and they're using the noise of the sweep to create it. And we had the same thing, like you mentioned, with the bottle.
Right.
And I think some other occurrence. Oh, by the way, Dr. Kimberly McGeorge will be joining us. She's just having some issues getting connected or something, but she's going to be with us shortly. So stick around for that. She'll definitely be joining us. So, they do, if they need like the sounds within our consciousness to make these words that we record, I just think it's very telling. And, all this phenomena that is going on right now is kind of coming to a head, in the instances of these, quote unquote alien experiences. They have no trouble getting through, and they're right there on video and that sort of thing. But are all interdimensional beings on this wavelength? What about things like fairies? What about things like Sasquatch that we're going to talk about with Dr. Kimberly in a little bit?
Right.
What are they, and how is it that they're able to remain so hidden from view? I get the idea that they are just so close. Our consciousness is made up of our perceptions, our five senses, right? And this is something I harp on a lot, that we can only interpret what is through those senses, right? What our eyes see, and the way we interpret matter, which is a collection of atoms. But for some reason, to us as humans, it might be a piece of wood or, plastic or glasses, whatever. But there's really like holes in this, and it's just...
It's quantum. And
it's just the way we interpret it. So our interpretations are what our reality is. And this goes into things like manifestation, and people manifesting things to their reality, just purely through their thoughts and intents, right?
Right.
So, we find that just fascinating. And it just makes us wonder with the idea of roles and all of that, and these stereotypes, whether they are in fact what they say they are, and they are spirits, or is it some other sort of being, right? And I think I mentioned on our Paranormal UK edition last week, I was talking about a podcast I saw with Grant Cameron, which was really, really interesting. And they were talking about, he was talking about the history of UFOs, and I went on a little bit about that and dug a little deeper with some of the history here in the United States. One of the things that he mentioned is that an abductee, I can't even talk to an abductee said that he was told by the being that they could only present themselves by things they pull from his mind, his brain, literally. So his consciousness, right? That's why we see these stereotypes, I feel, the little girl, the scary demon, the woman in white, and the women in white stories go. We did a whole show on that.
Yeah.
About a year ago. They're everywhere. And of course they sometimes wear blue or other colors.
But it's mostly white because they were buried in their wedding dresses. So.
Yeah. There's usually some lost situation involved, and jumping off the side of a castle or something like that, or a cliff.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. Well, it's true. And, there's always those legends, which makes you wonder what's happening there. Yeah, we got, let's see here, Irene Takura. Hi from Tokyo, Japan.
Wow. Hi,
World
Irene.
of Ghosts.
Welcome.
Hey, let's go all the way to Japan. How are you doing, Irene? Hello, Elizabeth. And we also wanted to mention that the Paranormal United Network on Pun TV is presenting Fear Fest Paracon 2021, September 24th and 25th at the Temple in Salina, Kansas. So get your tickets. That's going to be something. A lot of the pun hosts are going to be there, and lots of special guests and activities. So we're thinking about trying to get there, but I think we're at a different Paracon the week before,
right?
Week after. I forget how that works. We're going to be at Mass Paracon. Sam Balchus is put together in Quincy, Massachusetts, and you can see Bigfoot and the Bunny there as a vendor. We're going to be selling some merch and some cool stuff, and hopefully talking to a lot of people and meeting people, and that should be a lot of fun. I know our friend Nathaniel Gillis there that is watching us tonight.
Yes,
our buddy Nathaniel is going to be there as well as a guest, and we'll be doing a demonology dinner. So that should be really cool.
That's really interesting.
Yeah. Let's see. We check on Dr. Kimberly.
So on this report coming out through the government, I honestly don't see them disclosing much. Most of it's probably like redacted heavily. I don't know what they're going to say, but it's probably not going to be a full disclosure. It's going to be something like what the people, minuscule, just minuscule stuff that we like don't already know that's already out in the media and stuff. So, but let's hope that they say something a little different.
That's right. And getting back to that history of UFOs, because I did just save that for Paranormal UK. I'll review a little of that with you guys. The first documented sighting in the United States is pretty interesting, right? It was a secondhand account written by the Mass Bay colony founder and governor John Winthrop at the time, who wrote in his diary March 1st of 1639 that a, quote, sober and discreet man named James Everell reported rowing a boat up the muddy river at night when he and his boatmates saw a great light in the sky. When it stood still, it flamed up in flames. It was about 3 yards square, and when it moved, it contracted into the shape of a swine, literally a flying pig. And yes, I joked last week. This is way before Pink Floyd concerts, right? So these guys are out in a boat at night on the muddy river, and they see like this pig moving. So it ran swift as an arrow toward Charlton, which is now known as Charlestown in Massachusetts. By the time the lights had moved away, they had been delivered a mile down the river and had no memory of how they got there. And that's really interesting. So there you go. The first reported sighting in the United States occurs, and there's a time-lapse phenomena that goes with it. Total lost time thing. Not only, they see the UAP at the time, which, they could only describe as a flying pig, right? Again, pulling things from your consciousness,
what you already know and perceive.
What you already know and perceive. And there's an example of it. It's a great example. Obviously they would need words to be able to describe these things, but a pig, that seems really unusual.
Really weird.
In the 1800s, we started to see things that looked like blimps and balloons and had wings and looked like kind of like light bulbs, that they describe as like an arc light thing, like an electrical flying object. There are literally thousands of reports of these.
Edison.
It was in the consciousness, and then in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, you start to see the advent of Hollywood and the flying saucers, and that's what's in the collective consciousness of people, and that becomes the UFOs. And as we go on and science fiction progresses, and we start to see the triangles and this sort of thing, it's very interesting. I do feel like that is something there, and it looks like Dr. Kimberly is on in our streaming software. Let me see if I can bring her on.
All right.
Hey there, can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Excellent. We can hear you as well. Thank you for joining us. We'll just do a little quick bio and let people know who you are, and we'll get right into things. Dr. Kimberly McGeorge is an internationally renowned naturopathic doctor, Energy healer, remote viewer, and paranormal expert and consciousness teacher. Dr. Kimberly will discuss her research with alternative health combined with the energy healing fields. She will also share some of her personal paranormal experiences along with how she uses her psychic abilities to help people.
Her website, secrettoeverything.com, includes a wide array of products and services like house cleanings, self-empowering MP3s, classes, psychic readings, aura analysis, and even genetic testing. Welcome.
Welcome, Dr. Kimberly. How are you today?
Happy to be here. My computer was having problems, so I was like a little weird, but all good is now.
No problem. We understand, and computer problems are something that seems to plague us and a lot of people that are kind of involved in these sort of things. And I don't know, do you feel like it's part of like your energy and that can
I love that
sideways
reason. Sometimes I think it's like it's going to be a really good show or we're going to talk about really important things, and so there's other forces that are like, no, you're not.
Yeah, exactly.
We feel the same way.
Same with cell phones. If you're like answering your cell phone or messaging or something and you're angry or you get some kind of high emotion, it can just freeze that bad boy right up.
That happens a lot with me. And it actually comes back where I'm texting Chris and my energy is so high that
not that we're mad at each other.
No, but it's just like I'm very hypersensitive. My energy is so high that it comes back with not really text, but it's the text, but it has weird boxes in it and and different things.
It's like she's texting in another language. You start getting these really
he's
weird
like, so he's so
characters.
used to it now, and he goes, instead of sending screenshots of it, he just says, Chris, you're talking alien again. He's like, put your phone. Yeah, he's like, put your phone down and go meditate for 10 minutes. I'm like, okay.
Bring it down, baby. Bring it down.
So I'm not sure if you heard any of that banter that we were just discussing about consciousness, but I know you're a consciousness teacher. Your bio and website mentions the use of frequencies in your research, and we believe our conscious reality exists to our perceptions as an array of frequencies. Are these the same kind of frequencies that you use in your work?
Yeah, absolutely. So, we used to say back in the day, everything's energy, but now frequency is the buzzword. So I think you can pretty much substitute the word energy, although frequency is a lot more, specific. So everything's frequency in this reality, in my belief, and everything can be identified with an actual, frequency number. And because of that, which is how a lot of the technology works, because of that, they finally allowed us to have our technology back because obviously this technology, the reality didn't change 5,000 years ago, when Atlantis existed, for example. The reality was still made of the same material. It was still made of frequencies. It might have been, you might have been living in Lemuria or Atlantis or someplace we've never heard of that's since been, buried, destroyed, or hidden. But I'm not much of a conspiracy theorist at all, am I? But it was still frequency. So, and what's so super cool about frequency and that it does have these numbers, that we can pick up is that, and I believe that there's no, past, present, future. So all time is now. So this is what I say to my students. If you could know anything about anyone, everywhere, in any time, any space, no holds barred, what would you say? And they're like, well, I'd love to. But we can. And so a really good psychic tunes into these frequencies, and it can be about the past, it can be about the present, or it can be about the myriad of future timelines. And they just read the energy like my app does, like the computer programs do, like the medical technology they have does. It's really simple. It's not as woo mystical as oh, they're psychic. Well, we're all psychic. It's where you're directing your attention. You're distracted by everything, but a real psychic has learned to hone their attention and read the frequencies.
That's excellent.
That's right.
Yeah, and I believe you with the time thing. We've talked about that as well on the show. That time is a human perception. we've taken classes in remote viewing, and I've had some experience in astral projection, and their time seems to disappear with these sort of things, right?
Absolutely. And again, I think the body is so dense, it gets in the way. You know, we're worried about, I have a pain in my left knee, or I have to get to my kid's baseball game. Again, it's where we and how we direct our attention. So often you can have success at remote viewing. You can have success at astral travel when you stop trying, first of all, so hard. And when you can get the focus off the physical body and kind of soften that and kind of open up. And that's why meditation works. You don't have to meditate that. I'm actually not a big meditation fan because of my personality. But, you know, I also have to, and just like you were talking about with a phone, that was a great example. You kind of have to bring it down, lean back, open up your hands, and be willing to receive what comes with no filter. And I think what holds a lot of people back in developing their psychic abilities, fill in the blank of whatever type, is that they aren't willing to accept what they're seeing. So if they think the world is all like, let's skip, you know, through the world and everything's, you know, honey and roses, but they see like a big, huge, dark monster demon, you know, all of a sudden forget, you know, I'm not developing my psychic abilities. That's why a lot of children do, because of the trauma and the terror, they do shut it off. They may start out seeing fairies, but they may end up really seeing monsters under the bed or in their closets.
Sure. Kristen and I both had haunted childhoods, and it's something we've espoused on before.
We completely agree with you with that.
We think children are just in general more open to these things, haven't built the belief systems to shut them down. I don't know if the beings know that. What do you think of that? These interdimensional beings and sort of things. I know you're into Sasquatch, and you talked about fairies and that kind of thing.
Not by choice. I'm not in by choice. Let's get that out there. Not by choice.
Do you think they recognize the fact that a child is a child and that they're more open to manipulation?
The negative beings definitely know a child's a child and open to manipulation. Open to manipulation and programming. The positive beings, I think, know that up to a certain age, they absolutely have most of their abilities. Although, interestingly enough, and I know you guys probably have talked about this or know about this, you know, if you are born in a hospital, though, in America, and I'm not sure where else, they're instantly messing with your eyes and your brain by putting drops in your eyes and, you know, don't want to say the V word, but you know what I'm saying, you know, putting things in your body and really pushing that on the parents. And when you really trace a lot of those ingredients, it's a lot of things like, you know, heavy metals and things that really block the electricity in the body and start to calcify. And everybody is so hung up on the pineal gland, and I want to like smack them silly because one of the things our tech does is it, you know, measures and reads the chakras and how open or closed they are, including, of course, the crown chakra, which everyone's like, oh, you're connected to the all, you know, and that's true. You know, oh, your third eye is open, your third eye is closed. But some of these are just trite misnomers of what I call false light or junk consciousness, because my app, which is 100% accurate, can say my third eye is closed, 100% closed, and my crown, and I can read anybody under the table still. Why?
That's amazing. You have that in an application.
Because I believe we all read energy all the time through many avenues. You know, we call it a gut feeling. You know, even through this horrible physical body that holds us back, it still has some usefulness and gives us some signals that we might consider psychic.
Absolutely. Like clairaudient, clairsentient. Absolutely.
The knowing, I'm a knower. So in college, his fiance used to say, make fun of me. And he's like, you know things. Because he's like, how do you know? And I'm like, I just know that I know that I know that I know. And he'd be like, you know things.
Chris always says, like you were saying, these meat bags are holding us back. Come on, you know.
I love that you know that. A lot of people don't like know that or think about it, because if you come through the religious store, you know, the religion teaches you that we're fearfully and wonderfully made. I'm like, somebody messed up a little bit.
Right. Actually, you know, we were just talking about a thing last night too. Like, you know, there's all these theories of like Anunnaki, where the aliens, you know, came and kind of, you know, crossed the missing link for us and bred with humans or manipulated the DNA to create what we are today. And we see all this phenomena. We wonder, a lot of it's USOs, and they're going underwater, and maybe they've like changed their mind and they're like, let's work with the dolphins instead.
Yeah, they probably. I was talking to Chris.
These beanbags are too screwed up. They can't get it right. So
I'm like,
with the dolphins.
I had said to him, it was actually a thing about frequency, and I was sitting there thinking about this, and I'm like, why would they come down here, or over here, the aliens being interdimensional, best case scenario, and why would they talk to us when it's probably worked out in frequency? And I said to him, they'd probably go talk to the darn dolphins and whales first if they got here.
That's right. So if you're at the beach next week and you see a dolphin with growing with legs coming out of the water and arms, maybe little dinosaur arms or something, remember we told you this. We warned you.
That's right.
They were going to shoot something else.
We warned you. I love it. You guys are hilarious. I love it.
Thank you. But now when you say frequency, you mean all kinds of frequencies, like light waves, matter particles, sounds.
Yeah, absolutely. And the really cool thing, about the technology that we use is that, and people don't think about this either. You guys probably do because you seem to be a little ahead of the crowd here. But, programming is a frequency. So if you have the belief money is hard to earn, that has a certain frequency and it's stored in your energy field. And what's really cool is our technology can read it. So how can you get rid of programming if you don't know what it is and that it exists? You can't pull that out of your field if you don't know that's in your field. So I love that our technology and there's the hardware part and then there's the software part. And I kind of excel at the software part, programming it. And of course there's variances in how it's used, but I really, really love it because we're able to identify trauma and release trauma that people don't know is there. We're able to look at what's happening at night while you're sleeping. Are you being taken? Is there something in your house? What is it? We can use it for, house clearing. You mentioned house clearing. So we can, I call it, I'm such a lazy psychic these days. Now that we have technology, I don't even use my abilities half the time. People think I do, which is cool though.
Can you tell us a little bit about that technology? Does it use biometrics? How does that work?
Well, it was developed, this technology that I use was developed by a man way smarter than I am, named Ryan Williams. And he works for, I'm not really allowed to say. So he works for a certain country's military. So you can imagine. And it actually, it's based on quantum physics. So it's based on the fact that all time is now and there is no energy or distance. Like, how are we talking? Like, how am I seeing you? Like, you're not here. So how am I seeing you? It's based on exactly that, which again, we don't think about. My family thinks this technology is witchcraft, but I'll have these arguments. I'll be like, oh, do you have a cell phone? Do you watch cable TV? Because it works exactly like that. You are a radio everything. I shouldn't say you, a tree, a rock, a table. It could be an inanimate object because it's still made of energy. Everything is a radio tower and it's emitting frequencies. And anything that's emitting frequencies, first of all, can be read globally, and then it can be read, very minutely, the organs and the viruses and the parasites and the forming diseases before they're formed, hormone levels, brain chemicals, emotions. You can even write program, and you can write positive programs. So you can bring in frequencies. You can bring in positive, programming. If you struggle with weight, I am getting thinner every day, and you can drop that into the field, and then we play it as frequencies under music, and you're reprogrammed. So there's a lot of applications of it, how we use it.
Wow,
that's really interesting. So it's a little like sounds a little like HemiSync, which I like. Which might be a different technology. But we kind of, it's like slowly activate your brain to kind of accept certain messages,
Absolutely.
I also like what you mentioned about the third eye not being everything. We've talked to people like Dr. Joe Gallenberger, right? He talked a lot about heart energy. And they seem to have more of a focus on that. Would you agree with that?
With the emotions.
It isn't always here. And everybody does tend to say, it's a third eye. It's a third eye. But maybe it's not just that. There's more to it. There's a bigger chakra system going on.
Yeah. I would say as far as, and again, I'm a lot going with personal experience and observation of testing clients, but I would say, again, all my chakras could be closed and I'd be equally, I could do a paid reading that I had for the day. I wouldn't cancel my readings, and I would give them the same experience as if all my chakras were open and balanced. I just think we don't know everything. I
agree with you there.
I know. Sorry, my clients. I don't know everything.
We want all the answers.
Right now.
What is the meaning of life?
I don't really understand. Well, and again, and I don't know what you guys believe, but what I believe is this is not me or really much of me. It's just a blink of the eye of me. And I am infinite consciousness that's chosen or not chosen, possibly have been captured and held here against my will. At least that's my theory, to experience this at this time. And so who else have I been? What else have I been? Have I been a tree? Have I been a fish? Kind of like, is that the Buddhist philosophy that they kind of go that way? Or, not just reincarnation, but that most of the time it was my choice, which is what we're not taught. We're kind of taught like there's this karma wheel, which I do believe there was some kind of weird karma program here. We do think it's broken now. Phew. However, the multiverse law, sorry, I'm just really weird.
No, that's fine. We love this. Please. Yeah, we can talk on this. We love it.
Is cause and effect, which is very close to karma. Don't you think cause and effect, you do this and you get this, positive or negative,
exactly.
Very close to karma.
That's exactly what karma is, basically, cause and effect.
On some level, right. But when you talk about those kind of things, like you choose to be here, and actually one of the people saying hi out there is our friend Chris Garcia, who was a psychic and was a guest on our show.
Oh,
we were actually talking about how people make a choice to be here, right? It's even in a Tool song, the band Tool, if you're following them, right? Parabola. You make a choice to be here, like somehow, and I think you were just alluding to that, right?
Yeah,
that
and I don't.
You might make a choice to live this life or this consciousness, but if that's true, it kind of negates the idea of free will to some degree, because now you're kind of like on a roller coaster, right? So you can say, well, I got free will on a roller coaster. You can wave your arms, but basically you're going to have to follow the roller coaster, right?
Oh, that's good. But I think that the nature of this, and I have two thoughts that are going to appear opposite about that. So my first thought is we're on a place that's very programmed and very delusional and very deceptive, the whole place. I'm not talking about America or Russia. I'm talking about the whole place, maybe even the family you're born into. So on one place, I feel that we're heavily shackled, but on the other thing, as you raise your consciousness, as you raise your frequency, and here's the most important thing I can say on your show, as you remember who you've been and who you are, and I'm not talking about like I was a fireman, 80 years ago. I'm not talking about that garbage. I'm talking about who and how you've consistently expressed yourself over millions of years. Once you get those memories back, because we're memory wiped, most people, not everybody, we're memory wiped when we come in here. And so I retain some memory, but some other people retain memory, but not everybody. And certainly I haven't retained the memory that I've gotten back since I've been here for 50 years. But that changes everything. You also remember bad things about yourself. But I mean, when you realize how ancient you are, and maybe you're not, but I happen to be, and the power and the things you've done, when somebody like cuts in front of you in traffic, if you know who you are and can hold that in your being, every reaction, every choice, every decision becomes so much different if you know who you are. Does that make sense?
It does make sense, yeah.
It takes you out of this reality, and then you beat the game, because I believe this is somewhat of like a video game. You beat the game, and you turn the game on its head, and now you start creating the next segment or the next chapter, or the next movie.
Right. So you're saying you can determine the outcome of that roller coaster, where it goes and how those turns go, the more you remember. The more you know.
Yes, but I totally agree with you. Most people, 95% of the people listening to this are on that roller coaster. And even some days I forget and I get back on the roller coaster. I actually have to have items around my desk and in my home that I look at that is a symbol of who I am, to remind me of my power and my ability of, infinite creation and all these things. Because I forget, we all get down in the density and we forget, and we just, kind of knee-jerk react. So it's not easy. Even once you remember, there's forces fighting to have you forget.
When you said play the game, are you alluding anything to the simulation theory?
Absolutely. So I've been so back and forth in this. Like, if you went back and pulled a class from like 5 years ago, I'm like, this is the simulation theory is garbage. This is all there is. But I've come back. Well, I'll tell you, and the Seshi cameras are down today because I was trying to pull one because I'm going to make a video about this. But I've seen too much evidence, not that I believe in NASA by any means, but I do believe all worldwide organizations give us hints and keys and threads of truth. And I do believe the cams they have in space, whatever you think that is, you guys are like introducing like 70 topics, like with every question. You are not shallow interviewers. I'm not used to this. I might have to get off the show. You're like blowing my mind. But, on the Seshi cams, which were down today, mysteriously, which I've never had seen the whole website down. The Seshi cams are the, stationary cams in space. If you look at the sun simulator, which I do believe it's a simulator that sits in front of the exit hole out of the game, if you want to say it like that, out of the Matrix simulation,
out of the Matrix,
you can see, of course, if they're not, I would have you guys go there, but I think it's down still. You can see the wings of a ship. And a ship, of course, I just said this to my dad, and he's like, why would a ship be in the sky? I'm like, Dad, a spaceship, a starship, not a ship. Come on, get with the program. She laughed. But you can see every day. And in that ship, there's an entity. So we think planets are one thing because they tell us they are. But when I was 5, I knew every time they told me a lie in school by how it felt in my body. Because your body, if you're not programmed and so distracted and in pain and have a headache and figuring out how to pay your electric bill, you can calm down to center and you can start feeling those subtle shifts when someone speaks a lie or someone speaks truth.
Absolutely.
So we're told a lot of things. And do I absolutely 100% know? No. But I am betting almost my life on a lot of like what I believe now, because if you don't know what happens to you when you die, that can be a little dicey. Like, should I be religious? Should I be this religion? Should I be that religion? Should I worry about it? Should I fear? Should I not fear? It changes everything depending on your beliefs, as you guys know.
I agree with you. I think society wants to keep you, A, too busy to really think about these things and ponder them, and B, like guessing about things like religion and what happens when you die. And we all get wrapped up. I mean, from the time we're born, it's like, hey, go,
Nowhere.
work, go do these things. Yeah. And you're just constantly in this cycle where you cannot stop and think sometimes, what is really going on here? And it makes me feel like a sheep. I'll tell a quick story. About simulation theory. And this is what got me thinking more about it. Just real quickly, I had a dream, and it's only a couple of months ago. And I am very familiar with astral projection. I have a hard time doing it now, where as a child I was really good at it. And I know what it feels like to be in one. So I'm having this dream, and it's not an astral dream. Kristen's in it, just some blah, blah, blah stuff is going on. But at some point in the dream, I put my head down on a rail, like near a stairwell, and I fell asleep in the dream. And then I astral projected within the dream. And I found myself in a completely different location. But it felt familiar to me, and I'm like flying down the street. I knew what it felt like and how to wheel myself to go places and what that experience is like. But here's the weird part: all the buildings in that street were slightly pixelated. I go, oh my God, this is so strange. And then I got scared that I was going to fall because I remembered I was leaning against the railing and it was near stairs, and I snapped back, but I snapped back in the dream. So I'm still dreaming, and the dream went on. So I had the astral projection experience within the dream within a dream, right? Like Edgar Allan Poe. And when I actually woke up normally, and I was, back in my bed and just like sitting there, and I thought, wow, this is so weird. It's like I peeled some of the onion layers of consciousness or something. And maybe there is something to the simulation theory, because like, why was it pixelated?
Oh,
right?
yeah. And that we could get into the Bigfoot cryptos portal whole thing I work with the, phones now, the cameras being so good. And if you'll see a lot of pixelation when people blow up Bigfoot pictures, if you've ever noticed that. I don't know if you guys, I'm sure you've blown
Yes, we have.
But I believe that is the program. So what I was saying about the spaceship on the sun simulator is there's a being, you could call it a demon, you could call it dark forces, because I believe it is on the not so great side, lower
malevolent side.
It is running the actual computer program of this reality. That is where this reality is being broadcast from. And I'm going to tell you what also reinforced this theory. And it's going to be a little crass. I'm sorry. I'm not going to lie about where it happened and make up something different. But I was sitting in the bathroom, going to the bathroom happily in Ohio. It's not exactly the most exciting activity because we do it a lot. I'm like looking around, in my bathroom wall, small bathroom wall.
Do your best work there. Yep.
And all of a sudden, I'm sitting in the middle of my backyard. There's no wall. The walls, and I'm not dreaming. And I want to say one other thing to Chris about dreaming. And our belief, like there is no dreaming. They lie to us about that. So dreaming isn't dreaming. It's just nighttime awake time. It's usually if you're not lucid dreaming, though, you might not remember. They'll give you false memories. They'll give you these allegory things where you're like, oh, I was being chased by a lion. That means you're afraid of this. All the dream books, I believe, are BS. So it's like right now, sometimes I say, am I awake or am I dreaming? Because it's nighttime dreaming, daytime dreaming, or nighttime awake, daytime awake. There's no difference other than it's dark or light. And how much sleep do we need? I call it the sleep program. We could talk about all this stuff forever. What is the sleep program? Do we really need 10, 8, 6, 5? Why do they want us to go to sleep? Could it be because weird things happen to our body while we're asleep? Could it be weird things are done to our mind? When we put ourselves under that light trance, which we know the brain waves change of sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Yeah, we're very
Lots
into
of
the brain.
Abduction phenomena has happened while people were kind of in a trance, whether it was like riding a bicycle or they're laying in bed.
Walking, hiking,
all of them.
Yes.
Certainly a lot, that makes you wonder, right? And dreams are strange. Sometimes they seem to mean nothing, and sometimes they're premonitions of the following day. You might see things that occur symbolically through the day.
And why? And we have to ask that question. Why though? Why does that happen? Is it that malevolent being driving us, or his?
Let's get on those malevolent beings and the Sasquatch.
Have you guys talked to anybody that worked with any of the CERNs? Because you guys know there's like 150 CERNs, not one. Have you guys interviewed anyone that worked for them, in them, around them?
No, we haven't.
Yeah, and I have such an issue with CERN. But yes, they're going to blow us up.
I just wondered because CERN's main thrust is, the movie Groundhog Day. Everybody's like, oh yeah, that's about deja vu. What is deja vu? It's not what they tell us deja vu is. Deja vu is actually reliving the same day. You're remembering that you've already relived that day in actuality, in this body, in this mind. It's not in this whatever reality is.
You don't think it comes from like another dimension, somebody else on our
not what we call deja vu. Absolutely. Do I believe in other dimensions, parallel realities, and parallel timelines? Realms? Yes, I do. But specifically that phenomena, which when we use that term deja vu, kind of globally, we understand what we're meaning when we say that. No, I believe that they froze in time because what we found with our technology, and this is what I mean with how I use the technology versus how other people use it. I use it for woo-woo, weird, wacko things to test thousands of people and hundreds of people, and we can even test towns, and we can test regions, and we can test places, not just people. But we find that they freeze time in towns, they freeze time in states, they freeze time in countries, and we even have pictures. I know you guys have talked to UFO people, but they have pictures of UFOs with these little tiny lights, but when you blow them up, they're people in their bedclothes. They're people, these little lights that they'll have hundreds or thousands of lights going up in the sky. And so, I think a lot of times when they freeze time in these locations, and you're not going to remember, because they're going to memory wipe you.
Sure.
Right.
So I think we're just some giant meat experimental lab farm, honestly. I mean, and what you make of that.
Like a game replay. A video game,
and you can be depressed and you can be like, oh gosh, life is over. I might as well kill myself. Or you can be like, F that. I'm going to play this game and I'm going to win and I'm going to turn it on you, MFers.
But you've already played. It's kind of what you're saying. So maybe you're taking more turns, and you're just reloading, your favorite game save.
Yeah, and I honestly,
I play games, so
it can be fun. It can be fun. It can be fun to. I don't know if you guys have talked to targeted individuals, but I'm a targeted individual, and they know this, so I'm probably inviting more. But I mean, I turn the game on them 24 ways to Sunday, and they can't stand me. because you're going to play me. I'm going to turn around and reverse the energy, and I'm going to do the same to you. So I just think we're not, first of all, if we have this really, and we all have, warped view of what reality is, what's going on tonight, what's going on in the day. I mean, the food program, we could do a whole show on the food program. Do we need to eat 3 times a day? What do we need to eat? If these are robotic bodies that if you electrical, and you're talking about the brainwaves, but our bodies, of course, the body electric, and it seems to me the less I eat, the more powerful I am. The less I eat, the more sharp my psychic abilities are and my perceptions. So there's just so much to talk about. It's almost like everything they've told us is a lie. Funny enough.
Right. And they keep us busy.
Yeah.
They certainly do. So you think eating less food contributes to psychic abilities? Can you tell us a little bit about that? How can a person enhance their psychic abilities through diet, through whatever it is?
Oh, that's a good question. And just going to food, since we were talking about that really briefly. Well, you guys know, the supermarkets like junk, and the fast food restaurants. They've found. I mean, I talked to somebody who worked, I don't want to say because I always get really bad things happen to me when I say names, but a major meat warehouse, and they worked for this meat warehouse. I mean, it's major. It's one of the ones that starts with a C and ends with an L, we'll put it that way. And it supplies all the fast food restaurants, at least in America. I don't know, maybe around the world, but I know in America, they supply most of the fast food restaurants. And this person worked for them, and they told me this. And if I didn't know, I always say, don't believe anything you hear, no matter who it's from, unless you've seen it yourself, or unless you would stake your life literally on the person telling you. So I trusted this person quite a bit, not quite my life, but they said that they have human meat warehouses, and that every single fast food restaurant and even the plant-based burgers are mixed with human meat.
Oh my God, like Soylent Green?
Yeah, I was just going to say
Soylent Green people.
Okay, yeah, my kids and I haven't eaten, at a fast food restaurant for years.
Or why would that be true? Like, why would they want to?
It's the because they make you, remember we were talking about cause and effect and karma, which I don't believe in karma, but still cause and effect. So a lot of, and this can get really, really crazy. I actually think this body, one of the malfunctions of it is a lot of us have, and this is a belief thing possibly too, but I've seen the genome sequences, reptilian bloodlines, or, so everyone says, oh, you're from a royal bloodline, you're from a double royal, well, that just means you're from a double reptilian Draco bloodline. That means you have more to fight than the other people against, they tend to have strong tempers. They tend to be more intense. They tend to be more powerful because you're picking up those characteristics from the Draco lines, and the reptilian lines, like the royal families, all are from,
right.
Interbred reptilian bloodlines. And again, I know I'm way off, but I have to mention this because it's a pet peeve of mine.
It's okay. We're right.
If I hear RH negative garbage, it just makes me want to, I'm seriously going to pull my hair out, because yes, that's a blood type, but there are thousands of blood types, and they lie to us about that. There's not just 4, 5, 6, 7. It's not RH, you're magical. People in groups, I don't know if you guys have ever noticed this, like on, the social media, they'll have these groups of like alien abduction, and they're like, I'm an RH negative. And I'm like, good for you. You probably aren't even that. I mean, maybe you are special. I think everybody's special in their own way, but I don't think you should make your blood type like your, lead. Hey, pretty thing, I'm RH negative. What are you? Like, come on, people, like, get with it, like, shake it. Why do they think they're telling the truth about that? They tell the truth about nothing. So why are they telling you the truth about your blood type? They're not.
Well, RH negative means you don't have the rhesus monkey gene, which I am. And Christopher
and that is a blood type. See, you're one of those.
Chris says exactly, but Chris always calls me a reptilian. He thinks I'm a reptile because I have not. Yeah.
Well, so it's a joke. I don't mean it seriously.
He does.
Right.
It's okay.
Seriously. But no, and I do think that's probably a blood type, but there's so many more, and there's so many variants, and they are mad scientists, the people that take our blood and take our DNA. Have you guys heard the Life Touch photography? This is fun.
They do the school photography, don't they?
Yeah. Do you know?
Life Touch.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this amazing, lovely company. You know why you get free pictures?
for kids. Yeah.
You guys, you don't get anything in this reality for free. Just remember that. So they send you these packets if you guys are parents, and they're like, oh my, how nice, they get to see these free packets. Yeah, I'm going to buy these. Well, guess what they do when you allow your kids to have their picture taken in public school? You know, who owns the schools, who runs the schools, who writes the programming for the schools. So you allow your kids to have their picture taken. There's a reason. Because multiverse law runs on contractual law, and so does this reality. So every reality runs on contract law, but nobody teaches you that either. So you have to give permission for your child's picture to be taken. Once you've done that, all bets are off. They can do whatever they want with the pictures, and they do. They put it in a catalog that's distributed to the elites, to the reptilians, and it's a sex clone catalog. You get to order, I'm sorry, guys, you get to order up your sex clones, and then you're replicated. I'm replicated. Men, women, whatever. It's not just one. They love, of course, blonde girls with blue eyes.
Great.
I bet you have a lot of clones.
Oh,
and then you have clones that are being tortured and kept as sex slaves. And so we wonder why, when I test with my app, people are testing super traumatized even when they are happy. They're in a happy marriage. They're in a happy family. They have enough money. They have enough food. Their body's healthy. Why are they testing with exquisite, extensive trauma? Because you are energetically connected to a percentage with all your clones and what's happening to them. And that you feel it goes again to what I'm saying. Everybody reads energy. Everybody's psychic. They just don't tune into it.
Right. They tend not to tune in or don't want to because they're basically don't believe in it, or they're just too busy with life. And
that's what I mean. All these,
when you say clones, do you mean like doppelgangers or actual like clones of people, like they're cloning people?
Thank you. Yes.
Well, my relatives work in cloning. So even before cloning was popular, people would make fun of me on Twitter because I talk about cloning and defend cloning and say, no, Dolly wasn't first. They've been doing this for years. But my relatives get paid. Like, they make their living in cloning. So I know they're cloning humans, and I know they're doing it not just underground. We're like, oh, they're doing that underground. No, they're doing it like down the street in Chicago, New York, and LA, you know? I mean, they're doing it everywhere. They're not just
doing the cloning? What did you say? Different companies?
I have relatives that work in cloning, but
so you do
private industry, or is it a military?
Yeah, not just military, corporations. So another thing people don't know is, okay, so the military are the guard dogs, the enforcement of the corporations. There was a show on Fox a while ago, and I can never remember the name. I think that's on purpose. I think they're just like, you're not remembering that ever, talk about that ever. But if I could remember that it was about corporations. You guys, if you could look that up, they took it off really fast. They only let like 5 episodes air, and it wasn't doing that badly. And they yanked it off because it told who runs this reality and how they run this reality. So it's I really paid last time I talked about this, but it's like, you've heard of the Umbrella Corporation. You've heard of the Monarch Corporation, as in Mark Ultra, you know. So we have all these corporations, both off planet and on planet, run the reality. They're the ones above the politicians. They're above everybody on the planet. The military works for them. The secret space program works for them. And we're not taught that. You can kind of see it if you sit back and you're observant. You can see the corporations, you know.
We're taught you're going to be the next millionaire, but when you look at capitalism and, you know, in a bigger picture, it eventually just becomes, you know, a few different companies running everything.
Yeah, they'll never let you.
We've started to see Walmarts and things taking over the mom and pop shops, right?
Absolutely. They'll never let you or me, people that are searchers or seekers or have pure hearts or have a higher frequency or light workers, you will never be allowed to go past a certain income point. They might let you have some money, but you're not going to have enough money that you could really start rocking, you know, the world with it.
Impact the world,
Like, they don't want us to become like them.
They have
they don't want to give us power.
Get in the way of agendas.
Yeah. Right.
So I wanted to ask you a question since we're on this. Now, you believe in the families, the corporations and everything. So how many alien species do you know of yourself, just yourself, that are out there besides the reptilians and the grays? Are there 13 of them?
Yeah. This is not that I've seen or I know or I've interacted with, but I have been told again by let's say people that work for the corporations, that there's always been, always, as long as whatever this is that we live in, and I'm always open to new information. I'm always open to change my mind, and I have before. There's like at least 30 to 40, not just the Eisenhower deal. There's at least, always been 30 or 40. And I don't know if you guys have any of my pictures, but because I'm followed around by these people all the time and they cut me off in traffic, and I don't know if I sent Michelle one, but I'll take their pictures. If I can always tell that it's going to be a reptilian picture by the way they act, they will flip out. Like when I take a picture of someone where there's nothing inside, because there's a lot of Sims and clones that don't have like fire creation spirit, they aren't real living beings. They're like, like I put a picture of the Kardashians up on Twitter and I said, and you guys tell me there aren't simulations or clones. They're all clones. They're all simulations. None of them have any. And if you watch it, you can tell there's no fire creation. There's no humanity inside those people.
No,
there's not.
I've never watched one episode of that in my life because I could even tell just by a trailer of it. I was like, that's nope. No.
Right. So so again, everybody has different beliefs and your beliefs do create their reality. So maybe what's true is for them, what's true is for me. And, we all contribute to the collective and our own reality. But it makes sense to me that if this is a prison type of weird game simulation farm,
it's a zoo theory. Right. It's a zoo theory. I think they call it.
Zoo theory. Yeah. Okay. I haven't heard that. So that's good to know. But it makes sense that it's not just one entity that the corporations are going to allow and come in, but there's positive too. So like I said, I've heard there's 30 or 40. And again, I just want to shake junk consciousness, false light, like the Palladians generally. So we can't paint everybody with the same brush. All humans are bad. All humans are good. No. All Palladians are bad. All Palladians are good. But for the most part, the Palladians that interact with Earth are spreading like this weird love and light garbage to distraction message. So if you ever follow a consciousness teacher that's really popular or a Palladian that someone's channeling, which I hate to tell you guys, you don't have to channel anything or listen to a channeler or go to a channeler. Just connect yourself. What do you know? Go outside, get quiet, sit in the forest and connect yourself. You're going to learn a lot by you.
One of our favorite things to do.
That's one of our happy places.
Is it really? Oh, I love that.
So
that's why you guys are so smart. You connect yourselves. You figure it out.
Thank you. Yes.
We walk barefoot in cemeteries and love walks in the woods. Yeah.
We love nature. So, well,
yeah, me too. I love it.
Yes.
I'm curious though, when you say you go to, when you have clients, what kind of clients do you have? Do you go into their homes? Do you remote review things? How do you go about that?
Yeah. So, I used to have in-person clients, back in the day when we had in-person businesses way back in the day, like years ago. I had a clinical practice and I used a biomeridian machine. I had 2 machines. I would physically test people sitting in front of me. But as I grew in my understanding of how, this place worked, I realized I didn't have to be in the same room with them. So I can run. So I have clients all over the world for all kinds of problems. Some people are like, what's appearing in my bedroom every night? Or I work with a lot of children, a lot of terrified, traumatized children that can't sleep, that have to sleep with their parents. So we test them, we test their house, we see what's going on. I do have my own abilities, but like I said, what I love about the app, because if you're psychic and you guys seem to have psychic abilities, you can sometimes misinterpret things. Like, yes, you're seeing the real whatever or hearing or knowing, but you can misinterpret it. But what I love about the app is it's 100% accurate. And there's, you just read it. And of course, there's a little bit of interpretation, but, if the app says, there's demons, we can get down to the creatures. Like I did a video. I don't know. You probably didn't watch it. You're probably not a Dr. Kimberly fan. I should be, but I did a video on
now.
You are now. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh, I love it. But on YouTube, there's a video I just did on Skinwalker Ranch. So there's these big guys and military guys stumbling around Skinwalker Ranch. Oh, what's on here? Are there ghosts? Are there, are there demons? Are there real? Like what's up here? They all act like they're high. In my opinion, they act so stupid. But in a 5-10 minute video, my app told you exactly what frequencies and beings you can find It listed 15, but I told you in order what is there the most. I could go there and ruin that whole show in about 5 minutes. I'll be like, okay, cool. So let's look for the Sasquatch. There. Let's take pictures, get the cameras out. There's the human discarnates. There. Get the camera. Like, I could blow that show up, but people aren't interested in the truth, are they? They don't really want to know.
Media is scripted, so TV is scripted. So you can think of it that way. Entertainment only.
You did meridian work. Are you talking about meridian photography, like this kind of thing? Like that's an RF photograph of
we
me.
have a different, like that. I mean, my RF, well, I did your RF. I could show you really quick. Very similar to, it comes up differently, but it's very, obviously similar, it presents differently. But that's like just the initial, that's just kind of the energetic picture I look at. So I know if I'm dealing with darkness, clearing, are there going to be other beings that are trying to interface with me and them? And once I figure out kind of what's going on with them, then we'll dive into why ever they come to me. So they come to me for health issues. People actually regret coming to me a lot because I'm a truth teller. You already figured out. And so people don't come. Most psychics, I think it's so silly when people go to psychics, because even real psychics, and there aren't a lot of them high level, but even real psychics, they're like I'll be a real psychic with you, Kristen. Kristen, you have blonde hair and you have blue eyes and you're wearing a red shirt with an alien on it. And you're like, oh, you're right. But Kristen, how does that serve you? How does that serve you? Why did you just spend $100 to hear what you already know? Now, there's a couple more layers to that, but they do that. And, there's reasons they do that. But this is what I do. I'm like, oh, you wonder why you have problems with money? Because, you believe, you're in lack and you have the frequency of lack in your field and you're this. And we have these panels, like I wrote panels called Integration of Darkness, which is shadow work. You want to feel great about yourself, like have me do a scan and ask me to run those panels on you. You'll have shadow work to do for the next 50 years. Like, I love it. It excites me because when I dig down and face the hard truth, I'll tell you one of the beliefs that comes up in almost everyone. Me, comes up in my 29-year-old daughter, comes up in almost everyone, no matter whether they have mental, emotional, physical, whatever problems, and we all have all of those in different types. It comes up, it's safe to be sick. Our little victim stories. Oh, I get migraines. Oh, I'm hormonally imbalanced. Oh, I have arthritis. Oh, I have fibromyalgia. It's safe to be sick, isn't it? We can use that. We can use that not to grow. We can use that not to take action. We can use that not to get out and become more because we're sick. We have all these. So,
push yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. So some people love me, some people hate me, but there's enough people in the world. Doesn't matter.
No, that's really interesting. I think Kristen was referring to one of the services we saw on your website, which is secrettoeverything.com, by the way, plug. Secrettoeverything.com. One of the services you offered there was a clearing, right? And you clear rooms and seem to favor minimalism. And some of this is done through remote viewing, which is really interesting and different.
Yeah. And like I said, I'll just show you the main screen. So, I use this. I have you up right now, Chris, on here, by the way. But it has all these categories. It has meridian, spiritual protection, aura, and that's just the basic panel. Chakra, emotional, neurotransmitters. And then I have all these libraries that we could dig into. No comment. Remember, people don't come to tell me what's right. They kind of, they're like, okay, what's wrong? Lay it on me.
Well, if it's really wrong, maybe we would have saved
we'll
it.
Discuss
like, okay, we'll discuss
that. Yeah,
we'll discuss that later.
Problems.
You are a freaking.
I'm happy to share
that's what's wrong with you, Chris.
What'd you say, Chris?
I said you're a freaking reptilian, Chris. That's what's wrong with you. That's what I don't want to.
Called cause and effect.
Cause and effect, right?
Because he kept calling me that.
I do want to say something interesting I've observed about Chris, just looking at his scan that I did. And you can get a full scan or tap scan, which is a big scan or little scan on my website. But I think it's really interesting considering there's a lot of planetary things, going on. Some of us are more sensitive to like Mercury retrograde or to, an eclipse. And interestingly enough, you're really sensitive, Chris, to planetary influences. So you can get one of those shirts, you can really wear one of those like Mercury retrograde, they like everything's.
I always say the Mercury is in Gatorade, but it totally can screw up my day because I work in tech. So I do see things go south.
You work in tech.
I do.
Yes.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
During those Mercury retrogrades sometimes seem to really do have an effect. which is surprising because, it's things outside of my realm. I just start to see equipment like go down and odd things happen.
That's interesting. Well, you're just really, you're really in tune with like planetary things. I can tell you some other weird things. I'm always nice, by the way, on air. I don't tell you like the really horrible things.
Okay, great.
Okay. I'm
always very respectful. Well,
I'm not a big fan.
Although I did do one show, I just have to tell you guys, it was funny, not funny. So I thought it was being respectful. I was just being like, oh, you have abandonment issues and you're really sweet, but you let people cross your boundaries. Like, that's not that big deal. I'm not saying you're an axe murderer or anything. Like, that's pretty common stuff to a lot of people. And the guy that was interviewing me, he was younger. He was like in this chair and he was like getting lower and lower and lower. And it was an hour show, and he kicked me off at 40 minutes.
Oh, wow.
I was traumatized. I called my agent, and I'm like, he didn't like me. I was like, he threw him to the bone. Of course he didn't like you. I'm like, thanks for your support. So this is a good news. I'll tell you something good. I really don't usually do this, but I'll make an exception for you, Chris. I'll tell you something good. You have what we call projector access available, which you actually may already know, which means you have the ability, and this actually is through your pineal gland because it's not super gunky, but you actually need to do a heavy metal detox because metals are hurting your psychic abilities. And if you would do like a negative ion foot bath 2 or 3 times, like you would see your abilities, whatever you're working on or doing, it would go up. But you have the ability to project telepathically pictures into someone else's head. So you guys could practice that because you have the ability to very clearly. It's called projector. You're a projector.
Like Zella cards or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's what they're called, right? The ESP cards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys can practice that. Though.
We do think alike a lot at the same time.
We're like the world's like oldest couple. We can finish each other's sentences. And
but it's not that only though, babe. It's also that I will be thinking about something the same exact time he is.
Yeah. We do. This happens
it's
like
synchronicity.
Music all kinds of things, really. Yeah.
You know what's interesting? Don't throw tomatoes through the screen. I'm like, God, wait. But I'm completely anti-marriage, not anti-relationship, anti-marriage, because again, did God make marriage up or did the corporations make marriage up? Very good question. Just lay it in your energy field. But when you lay in bed with anyone, I mean, it could be your kid or nursing a baby or your dogs. Like I sleep with 10 dogs. So, I mean, we all do this, but there is an energy overlap and merge. So we're like, why do my mom and dad look alike at 70? They're like, oh, you just grow to look alike. No, literally. And we're not just talking about sex. We're talking energy. Even if they never had sex and just slept with their energy fields overlapping, you pick up positive and negative qualities. And sometimes you sleep next to someone, which is really because some people are just naturally have learned how to invert their energy and be vampiric. And we see this a lot. You can see it in the energy field and the tech sees it all the time. So some people are like, oh, I wake up so exhausted, but it's because their husband or wife or kid or dog or whatever is literally a vampire. Maybe you're a vampire, which could be beneficial. So some people are like waking up and they're like this. And some people are like, that sleep in the same bed. So that's really interesting. But really people grow like there's a whole study. I don't know if you've ever interviewed someone who knows personology. It's called personology. And you can tell the characteristics of someone by like reading fat, tall, skinny, short, wide nose, short nose, small eyes, big eyes, because they all put out a certain frequency. And that's what's so beautiful about frequencies. Energy doesn't lie and frequency never lies. So as long as you have the right frequency, again, it always means the same thing. Always.
So is this psychic ability, is it tuning into the frequencies of an object or a creature or consciousness?
After I worked with the technology and worked with frequency and have developed other inventions using frequency. I always love knowing tech people. Like maybe you and I could work on something in the future. I'm like a mad scientist inventor.
We are actually in projects and stuff working on things right now. So we would love to.
Oh, super
reach
cool.
out to us, please.
I love that.
I love the idea of biometrics and
but it's I don't want to use the word science because again, I think science is this nebulous thing that they change. I used to work for OSU Hospital for the heart transplant team. And I saw their studies. I saw them doctored their studies. That's your science. I'm not saying everybody does. There is, some science that's observable, but I think they changed the science we saw that all last year and this year and right now, right? With all the exposure of the lies, the person lying, the Dr. F person that manufactured a lot of, evidence and stuff. So
we have a question out
but
there.
I do believe in technology and I love technology. So
I'm going to just throw this at you. How do you clear a room by remote viewing? So they want to know how that actually works. But we're familiar with remote viewing and I've both done it before. And, there's the idea of anybody's listening who doesn't understand it, that you're given like a target number, which I guess in this case would be a room. You don't know anything about it. And you basically draw and describe this target that you can't possibly know anything about.
And I want to clarify something. There's two types of remote viewing, and you obviously are doing the military, what we call military remote viewing. Mm-hmm. I was born, fortunately, I just go there. Like I don't do anything. I just go while in this body, kind of like an astral projection remote viewing combination. So I just go there, or I used to. Again, with the technology, we take a picture of your house, we drop it in, we scan it, we have tons and tons and tons of informational panels, and we just see what's there. So now I don't have to. I will go and check around. And then here's a whole nother thing that's a really big rabbit trail that we're not taught. So just as we can project our consciousness anywhere inside or outside of time or space, other beings come into our space. And a lot of people's problems are these entities and energies in their energy field and in their home. But we're not taught. We're taught to kind of be afraid of them, to tell them to leave. Sometimes I don't tell them to leave. I'll say, hey, Joe Smith, who's hanging around, knocking dishes out of the thing. I'll say, hey, why are you here? Now, it's not like Ghost Whisperer, which is another bunch of BS. And, teaching people how to go into the soul trap. That's a whole nother story about life after death. But this is just, saying, why are you here? And he's not going to say, go 3 miles down the road to the pine tree, turn left and dig up a box, and then I'll leave. No, that's not what they say. He'll say, because I don't know where else to go. Sometimes that's what they say. And I'll say, well, do you know that all you have to do is picture, where would you like to go? What did you like when you were alive, Joe? And he'll say, oh, I really like the racetrack and like races, and I love to watch race cars. And I'll say, well, let's try this. In your mind, picture the most amazing racetrack that you've ever been at and will yourself there. And guess what? Joe's gone. It's as simple as that. Now, that's with a human incarnate that's not harmful. If we're dealing with a dark energy being or a dark force being or a more ancient being, that's a different conversation. Then it's very individual and we don't understand it. I can't teach everybody how to clear house like I do because everybody's not me. I know who I am. I know a lot of these beings. So I'll say, that's really funny because I can see who you are. So this is a little boy, you shouldn't be here. You're going to pay for this in some way. And if you don't do what I say, there's going to be a consequence. Remember, cause and effect. Mm-hmm. But we aren't taught how to wield our own power. So that's what I teach my students. I teach them how to apply power in like a really, really comprehensive way, not just this love and light BS way. I'll teach you how to get stuff done. I'll teach you how to radically alter your life. I'll teach you how to get rid of the people and the things you don't want in your life. And it's your power. You don't have to pay me for the rest of your life to do it for you.
That's really interesting. When you're remote viewing a room, you're kind of going there, and we'll just put it in quotes, like kind of astrally, you kind of see it. You just see it. And if you see some kind of negative, whether it's a human discarnate being or demon or other entity, and I don't know, we'll get into whatever the demon is, right?
Yeah, well, sometimes it's people
how do you clear, I'm sorry, how do you clear it from afar?
What do I clear?
What are you doing? Just on a high level, obviously, we can't get into every step, but how do you do that?
It's hard to explain because, again, our reality is what we believe it to be. So because I believe, first of all, I can clear. Now I use my tech too. So I'll run their thing. I'll get the frequencies, the positive frequencies. I'll make them attract and they'll play it. And that will help bring the positive energy in, of course, which helps clear. But we solve the problems. We talk to the beings and I just destroy. If they don't listen to me and do what I want them to do, they're destroyed from the moment of their creation ever, in all reality, all time, and all space. They no longer cease to exist. And then I trace their masters or who sent them, and we have a conversation. And if they don't play nice, then they're destroyed too. I just
Is
take
that
them
what
out.
it's like? Is it a conversation, or are you more or less
It's a
manifesting?
conversation with a powerful threat with
Or
action behind
demise.
it.
Mhm. Okay. Okay.
You know,
No, that's
because I
fine.
don't
I
play,
understand that.
especially kids. I'll give a lot of grace with like adults. Like if the being's like, well, they've been drawing pentagrams and chanting, you know, satanic mass, I'm going to give that being a little more grace that's came in at that invitation that person gave. Then I'm going to give a kid who's just usually the super psychic, the super bright, the super oldest souls that can make the biggest difference here are the ones that are getting tortured and harassed and frightened, you know, at night. I won't give those beings very much grace. They're gone.
Do any of these entities and maybe interdimensional creatures relate to things like Sasquatch and the Fae?
You know, it's so funny. Everybody's like, oh, how'd you get into Sasquatch? I'm like, I was forced to. When they start appearing all around you, you know, as soon as I see a new creature, like they never leave. Like you can't, have you heard that term, you can't unsee? Like once you know what Sasquatch look like and how they appear and how they relate, like you can't unsee or undo. So, you know, actually I have a friend, C. Wayne Wilson. If you guys want you might not be able to talk very much. You think I'm a talker? You'd have to be real strict with him, give him some boundaries, but he's a hoot. He's this old hillbilly character, but it's truly who he is. You think he's dumb, but he's super smart. He used to be a professional wrestler.
Oh, wow.
And he takes these amazing, he can see maybe a smidgen better than I can. We see differently though. So I pick up some things that he doesn't and he picks, but I was watching these videos and you know how you start out like watching a video on like consciousness and you end up watching videos on like aliens and Bigfoot on, because you know they show you the better videos. You're like, forget this video is boring.
Yeah, right.
Absolutely.
Of course, the algorithm.
I call it squirreling, right?
I love that. Yeah, rabbit trailing, squirreling. And what's so funny, that's my daughter's, as you can probably see why, nickname for me. She calls me Squirrel.
Oh,
Really?
come on. That's what he calls me.
Yeah, I call Kristen a haunted bag of squirrels.
Oh, he does.
Don't ever tell my daughter
And
that.
reptilian. Boy, I'm such a nice boyfriend, aren't I? Jeez, you know, but I'm teasing, of course. But yeah.
But so I'm watching videos and there's this guy, this hillbilly, and I'm like, this guy's like about stupid. And he's like, look at these trees. There's like a Sasquatch with her breasts out and she's holding a baby nursing. And I'm like, is this guy insane? Because up till then I've never seen a Sasquatch. So I'm watching his video, which is in his backyard out in the country in North Carolina. And all of a sudden I'm like, oh, sweet Jesus. I actually, as he's narrating, I am seeing exactly what he's saying.
But is it pareidolia for you? Yeah. Is this the real?
Oh, guess you know who says, what's his name? John D'Souza. You know what he says about pareidolia? That's what the government tells you you're seeing so you don't activate your higher dimensional sight.
Okay.
Very interesting. Very interesting.
I've had so a lot of your pareidolia. Now, I'm not saying you can't have that. You can, but I believe that most things that people see, they see. And then there's the whole cloaking. So, of course, sometimes you're going to see what they want you to see. So, but that's kind of a little different than pareidolia. But I got on Facebook and I got a hold of Wayne because he happened. I'm so thankful because he could have lived anywhere in the world, but he lived 40 minutes away from me, right? No coincidences in the Matrix. And I caught him up and this is how I used to think, you guys. This is really important for anyone interested in ghosts and Bigfoot and all these creatures. I used to think, oh, you have Bigfoot in your yard. You have Bigfoot in Washington. You have Bigfoot in Portland. I don't have Bigfoot in my yard. But so I called up Wayne, can I come see the Bigfoot because they're in your yard? And he's like, sure, come on down. Oh my gosh. So he lives across from this field. And when I pulled up with my daughter, who's like, I'll go, but I hate this stuff. You know, she drag her around the video camera and teenagers. And I saw all these huge creatures walk out. They knew I was coming. They walked out to the edge of the field. The baby, there were young ones swinging on the branches and it was a still day and the branches are moving. You can see. And I was like blown away. I have chills even talking about it. And he taught me, which is why I think you guys should have him on. He's actually super brilliant. He taught me they're everywhere. They're downtown Winston-Salem in this, around the stream behind the fast food places. They're in restaurants. They'll come and look in your windows. They probably are around you guys in your yard. Now, standard Bigfoot, maybe, but just interdimensionals, because we use these terms very, everything's a Bigfoot, everything's a dogman, which isn't true. But we use those terms kind of loosely.
Sure.
So anyway,
Right.
Wayne is the one that taught me to see. And now I have this really crazy, intimate, super, super close relationship with them.
Wow. That's really interesting.
So do you think they just exist interdimensionally and they're always around us at all times, but we don't always see them and at different
Perceive
times?
them,
We can
right.
perceive them with our perceptions, our senses, our five senses.
Mm.
And I don't know everything, you guys. I really don't. This is only what I know right now, and what my beliefs. But I believe all dimensions are stacked on each other. So, and I don't know how many dimensions there are. Maybe there's 70 trillion.
We have no idea.
I believe they're all accessible with the right sight, with the right heart connection, with the right openness, with the right frequency, and it may be all of those or none of those. Maybe things I haven't discovered yet. So, I think anyone can access those dimensions, and those beings tend to, in their natural state, vibrate higher, just like some of the alien races or aliens, if you believe in that, vibrate higher. I believe, just like they say cats vibrate, which is interesting. Everyone thinks cats are better than dogs. I'm a dog person. I used to be a cat person, but cats are also always very 4-dimensional. Dogs are very 5-dimensional, which is interesting. So some of our animals even naturally cross these dimensions. But so I think it's just, you don't have to do anything. You don't have to go anywhere, which is what I learned. You just have to be different, if that makes sense. You have to change you. You don't have to drive to Bigfoot conference on the West Coast or fly and save your money,
You can actually go out in your backyard and figure it out. One
of the things we were talking about were whether they see each other. I'm sorry. And these interdimensional beings, like does the Bigfoot see the ghost, and can the ghost perceive, the alien,
the dog man, or yeah.
In my yard, I'm sorry to everyone who thinks I'm sane. I'm going to disprove that in like 2 seconds. But in my yard, like the fae, the little people, the gnomes, the interdimensionals, the human discarnates, the Bigfoot, the dogman, they all hang out together. You can see them sometimes interact when they walk past, or it's not like they have parties, I don't think. Maybe they do. But I do see them interact. They do seem to have us in the same dimension, kind of like, think about it. We're humans in the 3rd dimension. That's all we think we are. And we interact with each other in the 3rd dimension, even though we're different types of people. And, I think it's kind of like, they share the access. Let's call it share the access, because I don't believe they're all restricted even to the 4th. Another pet peeve of mine. Can we stop the 5D BS? If you guys can't see the 4th dimension, you ain't ever making it to the 5th dimension. Not you guys. Sorry. They're like,
that's okay.
We know what you meant.
Can you expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, please.
So, all the books, like if you go on Amazon and type in, 5th dimension, you're going to be like, 5th dimensional living. We're moving into the 5th dimension. You don't skip dimensions. You can skip dimensions if you're of that frequency. But have you guys met people? They are very 3D. People are very, even though they're waking up, even though we're seeing some hope, and there's more truth being allowed in, and people are open to things. Again,
that was a thing.
The 5th dimension, you can't. It's not like a step that you can skip. You have to vibrate up into access to the 5th dimension. And so, if you are not consistently seeing dogmen and Sasquatch and portals is a whole nother topic we could talk about.
Yes.
And where are they coming from? I can open. This is part of who I am at the core, but I can open and close portals, and we do that at live events. I can teach people how to close their own, because a lot of people are like, "Oh, I have a portal in my backyard." I'm like, "Oh yeah, and that's really dark, and only dark beings are coming from it, and you should close that." So a lot of times when we go to these haunted houses, the problem isn't like A, B, C, D, E types of beings or spirits. It's that they have a dark portal that only low frequency beings are barreling in, because the dark beings opened it. There's also neutral portals, which is kind of like anybody can come through here. That's like the sign.
That's what I have.
And then there's positive portals where only positive beings, because of the frequency, can come through there. So I just said to my friend right before this, she sent me a picture of a portal in Florida, and I'm like, you need to shut that thing down. No.
I'll be right there.
Yeah, let's harp on that topic, because that's a good topic, and we cover a lot of ground here. Obviously, with couples journeying into the mysterious, the unknown, and the paranormal, right? So we do a lot of ghost stuff, but we're into all kinds of things. We've talked to rescue mediums about portals in the past, and things of that nature, and the opening and closing of them. But it's always kind of like a sort of gray area, and I think a lot of our listeners don't really understand when you say, "Well, I just went and closed the portal." Like, it just seems like a big jump and a leap for them. So take us through the process. And
like, how come to my house and they'd be sold in like one night? They'd be like, I get it.
They'd be falling in these things, tripping over them.
Can I leave now? I understand completely. Let me know.
Take us through what that's like and how you see them and how you open, close them. And
I'll give you an example.
How does a regular person tell whether they're good or not? I know it's a lot.
Well, I guarantee you, every person listening to the show has seen portals, or possibly even been through portals, because I do know for a fact, the matrix computer, which is composed, our whole reality is composed of zeros and ones. You would probably know that. So everything's composed of zeros and ones. And the program that was written for this reality is unraveling. So there's a lot more. As a matter of fact, one of the things I can see to recognize portals is a very simple statement that's not simple at all, which is be observant. So we're finding once you get outside like a major city and you get out into the country, people are losing time and they're getting lost and they're seeing their reality change. So they're like, if you've always been out in the country, and I'm talking about away from the cities are holding together a little better, probably because there's more tech and stuff there and more dark forces there holding it together. But, you go to a stop sign, you'll be like, I swear, I've driven this route like 8 years. I swear there were like 8 tall pine trees right there. But all of a sudden people are fine and they're not cut down. They're just gone. So be observant, because you can see time shifts, you can see timeline shifts, you can see matrix dissolution, and you can see portals just by being observant. One of the things that we don't understand is that the program isn't static. So one of the things you can do, this is really practical. Well, I live in the woods, so it's easier for me. But even if you just have a backyard with some bushes and some flowers and some trees, you go and you get some spray paint and you make a mark on your grass, cement, whatever you have, gravel. And every single day at the same time or close to the same time, or pick a couple times, you go and you pick a scene. So you're going to put your camera at that scene at the same time every day. So first of all, it's going to be interesting in a lot of ways. You're going to see different things appear in and out of that scene. That's impossible. Like there's going to be, like, again, 6 bushes instead of 5, or there's going to be like 3 flowers that grew up overnight. An indication of what? We don't think they stop time, but if you start being observant, you can start to, if you're a tech person, I have I don't know if you guys ever watch Prison Break. It's like a big show over here. I have like a Prison Break mind. So I recognize deviations of patterns and patterns. So for me, anybody can learn to do that. And one way is we have these cameras and we can take these still shots. And not only, once you get really familiar with just 3 feet of ground or 6 feet of ground or however much, your camera covers, and that same thing, you're going to start seeing the creatures, because you're going to be like, why is there a black spot there? I've never seen a black spot there. And you're going to blow it up and you're going to see 2 little ears and 2 little eyes. And you're going to be like, I can see Sasquatch.
So
you're saying we'll see portals. I got to tell. I'm sorry. I'll be quiet after this. What? Go ahead, Chris.
I'm sorry. So you're kind of saying, just trying to surmise what you're saying. We were talking about the average person seeing them. They just need to kind of maybe slow down, experience their world a little bit, take it in,
their surroundings.
So you know what I mean. Just kind of like take themselves out of the matrix, if you will, and just relax, look for them, open up, see what they feel.
You guys go out in nature. You guys go out in nature, right? Do you guys see these creatures? Do you hear things? You know things? You sense
I've seen all kinds of things.
Yeah.
Oh, you have? Okay.
Not always in nature. I mean, we've seen
just period.
Shadow figures to all kinds of stuff.
Shadow figures to, we don't even know.
Things that might look like a cloud going across the room, or
malevolent.
You can black orb or something like that.
I mean, I'll tell you another experiment everyone can do. This is a little sinister. I'm sorry. Don't do it if you're a heebie-jeebie, scare the dog person, which I'm not, obviously. Don't do it. But if you aren't, do this. So okay, most people's beds face somewhere where they can see their door, right? Like we're kind of wired like that, like whether it's side or front or whatever. So, and if you can't lay on your bed so you can see your door, turn off as many lights as possible in your bedroom, for bed, whatever, when it's dark at night, or, black out the windows if you can't. And then leave the hall light on and lay there for 5 or 10 minutes. After 5 or 10 minutes, soften your vision, meaning don't because if you're doing this, you might be a little too intense. You know what I'm saying? So kind of relax, breathe, chill, and then just put your gaze real softly under your door. And get out your little camera and then have fun with that. And you tell me what happens.
Wow. All right. That's an interesting experience.
I like that experiment.
It's pretty creepy.
I like the idea of stopping your gaze. Do you remember, I think you might be in our age bracket, where those at the malls, when they had those paintings that you would look at the painting and it would be like a pattern. And, if you stared at it long enough, you would see a boat in it.
Yes.
Do you think there's something to that kind of the way your eyes start to feel when you say soften your gaze, where you're almost going into a stare daydream state?
Yeah, I just think you're removing yourself back. I think you're stepping back from the program. So you have more of a big picture view. And I think that's how they keep us so focused. Time for breakfast, time for lunch, time to go to work. Like they're always, if you ever notice, everything all our routines and stuff is always about sharp focus. Okay, buckle down and get to work. Buckle down and say, it's never relax and lay back and receive and just enjoy. So even though I don't think this place is super amazing, I do think it's super amazing.
Yeah, I agree. I think there is something to that. Kind of relax and not kind of lose focus even on what you're looking at and kind of open up the mind.
Another thing you can do at night, and I recommend a little light for this. You don't have to have it, but if you have a smartphone, which most people do, Android or iPhone, take out your thing, hold it above your face, laying in bed, and video for 5 minutes. You will see orbs running around your room like the Dickens. They're there. The camera sees them, and once the camera sees them, you'll notice the dart. You'll see the motion. So then you can put your camera down, and you'll notice the dart, and you can feel into it. So once you establish how I work with people is I have to overcome their programming, which is very thick, and their disbelief, and I have to unwind that. How we unwind that is with evidence. They'll send me a video and they'll be like, are these orbs? I'll be like, yes, they're orbs. And I'll say, okay, now turn off your camera and see them with your eyes. So once they can lower, because see, to them, the camera proved it existed. Now they can allow the belief that they exist, that they can see them. So the camera takes a lot of programming out for people. Because even though they'll still try to talk you, I always say to the skeptics, I'm like, come on over, come on down, let's go. Come on. Now, people say there's no such thing as demons or exorcism. And I'll say you couldn't last a half hour in an exorcism that I do. You'd be running out and they probably have to put you in a psych ward. You can't say something doesn't exist if you've never tested it. Most of these braggarts that are like, oh, Sasquatch doesn't exist and this doesn't exist, they've never even tested it. They've never gone with someone that can give them evidence. I can get evidence every single night, every single day. When the best time to take pictures of interdimensionals is? Day.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, we agree.
We're big, we're Dave fans. Dave fans, yeah. We do.
I love that because a lot of people, you guys are just, and back to the Sasquatch thing.
Sit in the dark too much, that kind of stuff.
I'm sorry, Chris. I keep talking over you.
No, it's okay. Totally okay. No worries. I think we've all had a lot of caffeine today.
It's like
these crazy energy drinks going and ready to jump out of my skin over here. So no worries. I'm
just so excited because you guys get it, and you're we're having a conversation. It's not just like an interview. It's it's good energy.
Yeah, good. Good. Thank you. That's how we like it. We like to keep it fun and have a conversation.
I love it. I'm gonna recommend your show to some people, so that's good.
Sure. Thank you.
And I'll blast it out too afterwards. So we'll get you some new audience members. But
thank you.
Awesome.
I honestly do think there's two different types of Sasquatch. And I do think there are the hairy, although I believe Patty is a fraud, but I do think there are hairy like Patty type beings. I've seen them. I've seen pictures of the fur. So we call it in the fur. I do think some of the small ones can come into the fur. I think there's a militarized, and I've heard this story from someone really high up in the military, and he says it's true, but I don't know, because I always say don't believe, so I hold it with skepticism. But he said they did an experiment, because they're always mixing human DNA with everything. He did one of those experiments. We have Chewbacca in Star Wars, which is a good example. And they made these militarized versions of these beings, and they were so strong, so powerful, and so psychic. Nobody could control them. Like the reptilians couldn't control them. The military couldn't control them. The corporations, they couldn't have, they were so high vibrating. They couldn't give them like tranquilizer gun drugs. Whoa. So they became super dangerous to the population for real. And they killed them all.
Talking about a super soldier, right?
Yeah. Quotes. But some escaped because they're super smart, they're super psychic, and a bunch of them escaped. And those are the ones that are hiding. Like those are like the 9, 12, 14 actual, like you and I. And they may be interdimensional as well, but I think they're more physical than like the ones I see. Does that make sense? Like I think there's different types. There's 2 different types. And again, I think we use the word Bigfoot, Sasquatch way too broadly, because in India, in the Vedas, in their scriptures, they talk about 5,000 different kinds of interdimensionals. So there's a lot of subtlety there, from the little people to different kinds of furry beasts to all kinds of things. Mm-hmm. So we're so limited in our thinking and so why don't we just open up our mind and say, I'm going to explore and act like we don't know anything and discover. We just don't take that approach. We think we know.
A lot of people on Earth do not.
And we pigeonhole, and we have a way of doing that that's wrong. And like you're saying, there could be more than one kind of Bigfoot. Of course there can be. Why do we got to pigeonhole this is that, and this is what a ghost is, and this is a residual hunting, and this is an intelligent hunting, and there might be some truth to that, but there might also be some crossover there. You don't know. We have a tendency to pigeonhole everything, and I think we should try to break free of that. Just that's how we would learn and expand.
Exactly.
In our own experience, like, when we first started doing this, like we weren't all that into cryptids and that kind of thing. And
really?
Now I give them a lot more credence just through our experience,
Well, like I've
and hearing people's stories, and you were more into it than I was.
Yeah.
So
okay.
I mean, we like like some of the lore and everything, but I do think people see stuff, and I think it's out there, and it's just a matter of connecting our consciousness with that foreign consciousness.
And I'm also going to flip that, because everything is like opposite, inverse, and flipped here all the time, and it flips and double flips and backtracks. But again, we see this human skin, but like I was talking about the people that follow me around and cut me off and harass me. I know the vibe of a Draco, of a reptilian. And so when I take their pictures, the skin drops off and you're left with the actual picture of the Draco or of the reptilian. I was in Boone, North Carolina with my kids, and what really alerted me was, I'm like, why is there an FBI agent car next to me and a car with a Masonic symbol on it next to me? I'm like, they're trying to stop me from seeing something or doing something. Well, they always follow me around anyway. But so I saw this college kid across the street in this red hoodie at the stoplight. And I'm like, oh, that's him. Because I could feel his frequency. Beacons, we're all beacons, Took a picture of him. He's a Draco. College kid in a hoodie in human skin. But underneath he's a Draco.
Okay, I think I do have a picture of that. I'm going to try to share it. I've had a little trouble.
Yeah, because we tried to share last week and
it just didn't work. I don't know why. Let me see if I can bring it onto the stream.
I'm going to.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Here we go. And
that's him. That's my friend. That's my friend.
There we go. Some of our listeners are just in a podcast, so we'll try to describe this well. And I think you just did. I see somebody with a red hoodie on. And
yeah, look at his hand, though. It's even consistent. It's not like he revealed himself as full Draco, full body Draco. You can see his hands or whatever, claw hands. You can see his face is very distorted into some kind of being. I picked up the Draco frequency, but other people might, pick up something else.
Oops.
But yeah, that's.
See if I can zoom.
Because his face is. As I have my glasses on now, I can see his face.
Look at his hand that's hanging loose. It's like a claw.
Yeah, the fingers look strange. Almost looks like a lobster claw.
Yeah.
claw. And I got a picture. I don't know if you probably don't have this. It's a recent picture. This man and woman, I came up alongside of him, and just my knowing, I'm like, oh, these are some reptilians. And I got my camera out, and that woman, I thought she was gonna bash the seat to the back of the car. Her body slammed back. She didn't want her picture taken. So, and the man, his body slammed back. They were trying anything to avoid having their picture taken. Normally, I mean, people might not like their picture taken, but if you don't know what they're doing, if you're not guilty, you're not going to like flip out if you have nothing to be guilty about. You're going to be like, why did that person take my picture? But you're not going to freak out. So I have the picture of the man's hand, and his hand's a claw on the steering wheel because he couldn't stop holding the steering wheel. So I still got him.
That's interesting. It does look like a claw. How long ago did you take this picture?
This was a couple of years ago.
So this is pre-COVID. So that wouldn't be a mask.
A face mask. That's what I was thinking.
Oh, no, this was way pre-COVID. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Because there's definitely something interesting going on with the lower half of the face, and the eyes don't look right, and it looks like he's got a.
But even the head in the hoodie, it's just all. And can you pick up the energy how he's holding his body? No matter how long they've been here, and also Dracos can walk in and walk out. That's a whole another conversation. Or they can, have that skin and own that for a long time. But they hold their body differently. They don't hold their body the same as a human holds their body. Can you pick up, like I can feel the energy sitting there. He's just kind of slouched in. He may be a walk-in too. Maybe he isn't like a permanent Draco. He may have walked into that student, for whatever reason, but he's holding his body just kind of weird to me compared to how he
it's just kind of standing there. I don't know if it's like a teenager thing or just something kind of menacing about it. I don't know, but the claw hand sticks out to me the most.
He's bringing about that.
It does. I feel like I'm looking at a lobster, and it could help that maybe he's got a red sweater on and a lobster hand.
So I have another one that's really clear of a flesh claw hand of a guy that was following me around my town, and I could feel again the frequency. So I took a picture. That's how I get all my pictures. It's feeling. I can tell where cryptids are by like. They come into my range. I feel them.
Do you feel them?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Here's something else we have a picture of. It says dark shapes interact as solid with the fauna around them, self-illuminating beings.
In upper right corner.
Upper right corner. And I'm sorry, we got monitors everywhere. And I'm not sure. Did that come up? Maybe not. I got to bring it into the stream. I think that's where I'm going. There we go. Can you see that?
Oh gosh, that would have to be bigger for me to see.
Okay, let me.
No, that's okay. I completely understand that.
Whoa, that doesn't sound right at all.
Oh, sorry. Dude, come on.
Oh, man.
Listen, we can't get through a whole
show. We could go 2
show.
hours without a dick joke in there somewhere, right?
This became X-rated.
There we go. Let me see what I can
do. There's my little
right-hand corner.
And we're going in the upper right. Okay, there's some appears to be lights up there.
Right. And then down you can see a small one in the... Well, number one, I'll tell you, let me just stop right there for a minute. I'm going to show you a giveaway. See how these trees are all tangled weirdly?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know where that was taken because it was my backyard. And that's just not normal. They tangle. I mean, I could send you guys pictures because we built this house and we took down all the structures. They rebuilt them. All the X's and all the huts and all the, well, because I told them they could. But that's a sign. When you see weird X's or you guys probably or huts, like a lot of sticks, or I call it also fairy webbing. That's not fairy webbing, but fairy webbing is also a sign because they like to make these screens because they like to watch us way more than they like to hunt and watch us way more than we like to hunt and watch them. I'll tell you that. That is their favorite thing to do. They come up and line up when I take my dogs out and they're just like in a circle around us. And they will, if you're hiking, they will. And most of them are good. People are like, bad, Dogman's bad, Sasquatch is good. That's not true either. But I find the majority of beings are good. But so that's a sign. But then if you go beneath that, there's a small one sitting there under the thing I think I saw. If you pull the picture up, there's a small little one. I think you can see the ears. I can see the ears. Up more, up, no, down.
Thank you. Yes, it's opposite.
Right there. So there's a little one or little ones right there. Oh, there's some more over there. So what do you think that is? Like, I see, again, that's why you're taking your picture. So if this was your area and you took it in the daytime and there's not a plant there, there's not a stick there, there's nothing there, that's how you start to see there's your beans.
Interesting.
Very interesting.
great. That's really cool. I love the experiment of what's under my door.
Yeah.
Oh, you might not.
No, I think I will. I'm all about that. That's
Yeah.
pretty-
So, and those are, all the lore. You guys know all the fairy lore and pixie
I do,
lore
absolutely.
and all that.
Mhm.
And yeah, so we have it's funny. My daughter came over and she's like, "It is so creepy here. How do you live alone in the woods and the mountains?" I'm like, "Honey, child, I am not alone. I have 4 friends inside and outside the house. I mean, there's just so many beings to interact with, at any time. It's so, I hate to say this. This sounds really rude, but I'm going to say it. These beings are so much nicer and more fascinating than most people."
Then people, yes, we get that sometimes.
I have one more picture maybe we can go through because this one relates to portals.
Oh, this is good. I love that you brought this. This is really interesting. So I didn't use, have you guys, what's that guy? His name's Matt, doctor. He's a psychiatrist. Have you heard of him? He's like from Oregon or something. He started yapping a long time ago, which I hadn't observed. He actually made me notice this, that they're coming through the trees. A certain type, we're not talking necessarily the 18-foot tall ones, but the certain type are coming through the trees. So again, how did I catch this? Because these trees are in my back. They were in my old backyard. My old backyard, I could see them every day. I could stand in front of them with a camera. I could stand in front of them with my eyes and burnt. I'm like, why does that tree look like it caught on fire and it's burnt? But if you blow it up really big, you can see the beans either going back in or coming through. So we know that certain trees, possibly all trees, think Tolkien, you guys. Think about Tolkien and the living trees and the army of trees. I just think there's so much we don't know. So I think the trees are portals to these beings. And here's some examples of them hanging out in trees. And this was a consistent area where they were coming through, and you'll find that once you find an area, a lot of creatures will come through. You need to be really observant,
Okay, so this is kind of about going back to finding portals. And for our listeners that aren't watching the video, because we do go out in the podcast,
That's true. I'm sorry.
I want to just describe the picture a little bit. So we've got 2 pictures of trees, and one on our left here is definitely more brightly lit than the one on the right. So kind of, if you can, talk us through what are we supposed to be looking for?
So these are the same. This is the same tree. This on the left, it's blown up a little bit more, but this is the same tree. Do you see big black spots on this tree? No, you don't see that big, huge burnout looking black spot. That's really a couple feet, maybe 6-7 feet long. There's not, it isn't on that tree. And I blew it up a little bit so you could see the beans without trying too hard. But this, I see them, but this is blackened and it's solid black. It's not a shadow. Where's that shadow? What shadow projects in that chopped off way? It's not a shadow, because I know the naysayers can say it's a shadow. And again, you guys have to realize this is 24/7 observation. These are trees in my backyard that I studied for 2 years' time. And so I know what is and what isn't. I'm the biggest believe. It doesn't sound like it, but I'm actually looking to prove myself wrong, if that makes sense.
No, that makes sense.
It does. Almost like there's like faces.
So that's one thing you can look for. They light in the morning. I can't. You guys aren't showing me right now, but sometimes I was going to show you. Sometimes when I'm not doing a show, they'll come through the tree behind me. But see, there's little ones in between the trees coming through. They're sitting, to the left or right, whatever you want to say, of the dark area. And if you blow up if you guys want to take a screenshot of that and then blow it up later, you'll be able to see eyes and ears and if the beans coming through.
Wow. Wow, that's really cool.
So, I mean, I don't expect anyone to believe me, but it really saddens me. Everybody wants to see, but everybody's kind of like afraid to take me up on it. I'm like, well, come on over. Hang out. I'll show you. And they're like, maybe I ask people too is fear. And do they really want to see, or do they just think they want to see? Do they really want to know, or do they just think they want to know?
Yes. And sorry, we might have dropped off there momentarily.
Yeah, just
no, there's some behind me. Wait. Do you see? Wait, there's some of my trees doing it right now. They're coming. There's some of the trees that looks like they're coming through. I don't know. You guys can see here. I'm going to get out of the way. You guys see
Kimberly has a window behind her. We're looking into her woods.
Yeah. Do you see my woods?
Oh, yes. I did just see something move. I did.
There's
actually
a
saw
lot
something.
back there. They're coming. They know we're talking
Yeah,
about them.
I don't know.
They're coming in. They're actually
Okay,
coming
what
The way
was
the
that?
light's changing.
right
I
now.
see
See
it.
how that's working? Yeah,
Holy moly.
there's something going on
Anne Marie Young, are you watching this?
with the way the shadows are working in these trees in this tree branch over here. Yeah.
Shadows. Yeah,
Right.
you guys.
Okay, I'm gonna
If
be a
you
little
are
bit of it. I think
seeing
it's a
the video of
reflection
this,
of the window.
take
Whoa.
But
screenshots,
there is
blow it
something
up.
going on.
Take screenshots of this and blow it up. You'll see beams.
When you use your hands, we can see the reflection on the window, so we're trying to see it move again.
Oh,
That's okay. Just if
That's
you
okay.
skip it, no,
No,
sit back
fine.
down.
That's fine.
Yep.
I do think we saw something there.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty strange.
oh,
Yeah,
That was really cool.
really cool.
But if you guys want to take a screenshot, like you can blow it up, you'll be able to see even past the reflection because they're pretty strong out there right now. Yeah.
Wow. That's really cool. So, how do people get in touch with you? Is the best way through the website?
I'm old, so you can type my name in. You can type secret
Do
to
you use
everything.
CompuServe?
Obviously, what was the other one?
Netscape.
Netscape or
Net Zero. Yeah, we love talking about the history of the internet like it's
school.
so archaic, but our kids will never understand.
No, I have a YouTube channel, Secret to Everything. Just type in secrettoeverything.com. There's a contact form if you want to have a question or want to reach out. We're redoing some of the services and stuff on the website. I teach monthly groups. I teach different classes. I think we're going to teach a class in July on deprogramming. So, all the ways they program us and how to deprogram yourself, which is a step in, it doesn't sound like it, but it is kind of a psychic class because you can see easier, hear easier, know easier when you're not programmed, by the outside influences. So
Absolutely. I think that's brilliant. The deprogramming is huge. I'm always thinking and, talking about things like, geez, we're just constantly sheep. Everybody's making all these decisions for us and they keep us so damn busy, like I mentioned earlier, and questioning things like religion and all that. Not that we don't have freedom to choose, and that's a great thing.
yeah, absolutely.
But it's almost like it's a little intentional, so you never know what you're doing. You're just kind of just going with the flow. You're bobbing in the water. If you're
Right.
going along, and that's not how you're
That's
going to
not how
see
you
the
should-
whole pond.
Yeah, should do that. You go about life.
Yeah. So deprogramming.
Well, you
is
guys are
awesome.
performing a great, great service. I really appreciate you for allowing me to come on and share. I mean, we covered because you're used to a woman like me. That's why you're used to a very, the way her mind works. So you entertained it. Not everybody would entertain that. So I appreciate you guys and allowing me to go everywhere.
No,
You're very welcome.
I
We're
love
so
it.
glad. We loved it.
This was really interesting, and it was a deep conversation. And I'm sure it's got a lot of people, including ourselves, definitely thinking.
Oh, yeah.
Some of them may have crossed that line where it went poof. But I think if you could see everything all in one image of what's going on around us, so that mine would go poof. That's something I wonder about with the consciousnesses that we come across, and are they trying to imitate certain things, like the the little girl or the woman in white
Stepping into roles.
stepping into
Yes,
those
I do that
roles.
a lot. You're right.
Yeah,
Yes.
so because if we really saw them for what they are, our mind might just go poof. And the same thing with aliens and that kind of stuff in these different races.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So
Well,
yeah.
thank you again so much.
Awesome
And we would
food
love
for
to
thought.
have you back on again and talk about so much
I'd
other
love to
things.
take questions or do readings or do like actual scans on we can talk about whatever you want. So
That's
great.
Thank you.
Yeah, I love the scanning technology, and it looks like you got some really intense tech going there to do these sort of auric readings and get into a person's energy and what's going on with them to help them out. Again, that website is thesecrettoeverything.com.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to start wrapping things up. If you want to stand by, we'll chat with you in just a couple of minutes.
Sure.
And we're all fine. And there we go. And that's going to conclude our show for Bigfoot and the Bunny this week. I had a great time. How about you, Chris?
I did too. Thank you.
It was a lot of fun. And we want to thank all our friends out there that are in chat today. Anne Marie, Nathaniel, Chris Garcia. I see Mr. Petrie out there. Yeah, definitely some fun people. Robert Wilson, thank you. Thank you for everyone's comments and questions. We appreciate it. And we apologize if we didn't get to all your questions.
Yes, we do. I'm sorry.
Stick around and we'll see you guys next Saturday.
Thank you very much.
Take
See
care.
you guys later. Bye-bye.